Hi, Robyn. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. So, I know that you were in Israel during the Hamas attack, and I'm very interested in hearing your story. So, I'm hoping you could just start by sharing what brought you to Israel during that time.
Sure. So my son, Gil Cutler, had planned a wedding. It was scheduled for the Tuesday, the 10th, right after the war began, that Saturday. So he's a Beta grad and had made Aliyah in the around 2015. His bride also, who's Nicole Berry, came from Ecuador originally. She made Aliyah around the same time and joined the IDF as he did. And they met several years later and planned the wedding for that Tuesday evening. So we arrived Thursday, right before all of the war began.
Okay, so the wedding was scheduled for Tuesday, and so
Mm-hmm.
the attack was just a couple days before then.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, what part of Israel were you in, first of all?
So they live in Haifa.
Mhm.
So we started there, but the groom's party went to Ma'ale Gilboa, which is a kibbutz, which is a little bit east, but it's still north of the country. And so we didn't know anything about it. It was Simchat Torah, it was Shabbat, and we had well, it was really a lot of fun. There's a yeshiva there at the kibbutz. So Friday night was just a monster party, and we had a great time. Saturday we were oblivious. We went to synagogue and found several of the kibbutzniks had their big guns. They're not Uzis, they're M4s, but these big hunting guns on the exterior of the synagogue. We went inside. The woman that I was sitting with Friday night approached me and she was in tears. And so she told me what happened that morning. And everybody there was wearing sidearms under their talit. It was very surreal. Everybody had cell phones, which never happens on Shabbat or Simchat Torah. But everyone was obviously distracted. And so they just kind of hurried the service through and and told everyone they should just go home. So we had an area set aside for us as the wedding party so we could congregate and have our meals. So we went there, and sure enough, one of the groomsmen was called up. So it was just really uncomfortable having to say goodbye. And he actually is also a Beta grad, Josh Schwartz, and he himself also newlywed. So it was, very uncomfortable
Mhm.
sending him off.
And now you said you were kind of in Haifa, that's northern Israel. Have you
Yeah.
guys, did you experience any sort of missile warnings? Did you have to go into a safe room at any point?
We did only once, and that it turned out that it was a bunch of drones that were sent over the Lebanese border into Israel purposely to set off the air raid sirens.
Hmm.
So we did go scurrying down. I was with my son and his bride in their place, and they have a safe room. We all went running down there, and it was very scary, very we were very, very anxious. And they said you stay 15 minutes, and soon enough we learned that it was just these drones and that we were perfectly safe. And we stayed. Now they rescheduled, they canceled the wedding first thing Sunday morning and rescheduled it. They called the rabbi, they set it up for Sunday night. And as just a quick pull it together, it was limited to 30 people, and it turned out to be absolutely beautiful. It was on someone's roof in Caesarea, beautiful home near the water that evening. So we kind of rushed it,
Mhm.
but it worked out beautifully.
What was the mood at your son's wedding the day after this attack happened?
Um, Well, I mean, it was the fog of the background of war going on and seeing his friends. He was actually called up too on Sunday, and he told um, his whoever the rank is that, you know, he's getting married that night. And they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Go get married." And so he has till today has not yet been called in to
Mm,
join the rest of the group. But the rabbi was fabulous. It was Rabbi Oat, who has a background with Young Judea and formed a relationship with Gil back then. And he wove in, you know, the need to have the simchas continue in this very stressful time, because the Jewish people will continue and will always continue living their lives. So even under duress. So it was beautiful.
mhm.
Mhm.
Now I understand that you have another son also who well, he wasn't called from the reserves, right? But he wanted to volunteer.
Yeah, his group, he had also made Aliyah back in the early teens and had served in the IDF for 3 years. And then he left Israel and came to the US for work, and has been going back and forth to maintain his friendships and keep in touch with everyone. So his troop was also called up, and he felt that he really needed to join them. So he connected with a buddy of his and asked for a ride, and he'd go up with them and see what they have to say, which is a whole nother story, because his friend was on a family cruise on an Israeli cruise line in Greece. And so he said, his friend said that he actually, they, the cruise line asked all of the people on the cruise ship if you did not have an Israeli passport to just disembark there and make your way home. And then they would bring all the Israeli citizens back to Haifa. And so turns out they did them a huge favor by doing that. They were able to get home from there. And so I brought my son down to the port. He met up with his friends and went to re-enlist. And they told him, no, it's okay. We're good. You're American now. He said, but my son felt compelled to stay. He any way he could help. So he has been delivering all these donated supplies to that troop throughout his stay. He's still there. His job at Pearlstone actually called to say, you know, we need you back at some point. So he has tickets to return in 2 weeks. He'll be back in the US on
Wow.
November 10th. Yeah.
Mm. And he's just in Haifa buying supplies and bringing them over to a base, or?
Yeah, he's staying with his brother and his new sister-in-law. And the friend that brought him to report just gave him his vehicle and said, just use it. And there are collections everywhere.
Mhm.
So whether he's purchasing them or other people, there's points to pick up and deliver. And that's what he's been doing.
Mhm. Are you worried that your other son, the one who just got married, will be called up at some point?
His wife is worried very much. He himself feels guilty that the rest of his group is serving and he's not. And so he's struggling with those feelings right now. But his wife is very happy to have him by her side.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I ask that they just touch base with me every day, just so I know they're all safe and doing okay. So
Okay.
far so good. Yeah. Thank God.
Have they had any other more like missile warnings or anything where they are?
No, not up in Haifa, thank God. But you know, Iran is giving off some bad vibes. You know, they said they would aim for Haifa. So we're trying to keep that from happening. At least our president is trying.
Mhm. Now, you're back in the Baltimore area now.
Mhm.
When did you get back, and did you have a hard time getting back? 'Cause there've been a lot of people who've had trouble.
Yeah, getting back was really difficult. We flew in on United, which our lesson now is to only fly LL. Like, don't be cheap. Just take LL. But United, they were continuing to fly on Monday and Tuesday, and then they canceled every flight.
Mhm.
So we called Sunday trying to get home. We started Sunday morning, and every morning we made new arrangements, and every night they got canceled. So it was crazy. We had a flight because United partners with Lufthansa. So we were supposed to go Wednesday to Frankfurt and from Frankfurt back to Dulles. But the German government actually commandeered the plane and said it's only for Germans. We're going to just collect all of our German citizens that are in Israel and bring them home. And that happened for England. It happened for France and even Ecuador. My daughter-in-law is from Ecuador. Ecuador sent a plane to collect all their citizens. All of South America was covered because Argentina, they had a deal with Chile, everybody, but not the US. So we got lucky because our Kia Airlines, which is an Israeli airline, they're a lot like Southwest. They do all kinds of flights all around the region. They added flights because all of the international airlines canceled. They just weren't coming in anymore. At one point, we were supposed to take Air Jordan to go to Oman and then fly to Dulles, but everything got canceled. So our Kia brought us to Istanbul on Friday. So we were in the airport Friday. We saw the American embassy. That's the first day they showed up at the airport. And they wanted everyone to sign a promissory note. We were supposed to reimburse them for the flight, that they were going to bring the American citizens not home, but to either Athens or Frankfurt, or put them on a ship to Cyprus. So for $2,200, they weren't going to bring us home. So yeah, we're not happy with how that all worked out, but we got out just fine. And Istanbul was fabulous. The airport's amazing, and Turkish Air was great.
Mhm.
Although I don't think they're welcoming flights in from Israel right now. We
So
got
when,
in, so.
so when did you manage to get back to Baltimore?
So that's Sunday morning, so exactly a week later.
Mm,
Yeah,
well,
well, 8 days later. Yeah.
no. Well, those were my questions. I'm wondering if there's anything else that you would like to add about your experience.
No, so it was scary. And my heart went out to my boys. I know they felt very, very strongly about serving. My fiance, who actually, that was a whole nother story, but I don't have to get into that because he had planned a whole fancy proposal when we were in Israel, and that kind of got changed very drastically, but it was very sweet. He was trying to convince my boys to come back with us, all of you and the bride, like, just come back to the US. It's really safe. You don't have to. And they all looked at him and said, no, we belong here. We need to be here. And we're going to do whatever we can to help. And he looked at me and said, Robyn, talk to them. And I'm like, no, no, I respect their decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yep. You're very welcome. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day, and I hope that your sons still, remain safe, your
Yep.
family.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.